Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. All right then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, hello.
How are you, my brother?
Yes, I'm good. Elikem had challenges, so I had to take over from there.
Okay.
I'm trying to bring in people on board.
Because when he went off, I tried holding the fort by just saying something, and then I realized that the whole thing ended.
Yes, it's like his network went, and since he was hosting, the space just crashed.
Okay, then we are waiting for you guys. Let me mute myself.
Hello, Elikem. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
We need to get link to Edward.
I sent him a link.
Okay, you sent it to him. Okay, great. Oh, great. He's here.
Let me just approve that, and then we are good to go. Yeah. Hello, Edward. You're welcome back. Sorry for the hitch. Hello, Edward. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Crystal clear. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Good. So, Elikem.
Yeah.
Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Adam, for getting us back up. And thank you all for your patience. I see everybody's logged back in. Or most people have logged back in. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Edward, for your patience. I'll give the intro again. You know, as one of my favorite songs goes, from the top. So we just redo it. All right. So we know what's gone on in the Ghanaian economy in the last year. Things got tough. People invested money and they were trying to get it out. They couldn't get it out all because the government of Ghana had defaulted on its bonds. Treasury bills were not affected, but the bonds are where most people invest, and not just individuals. Banks, investment houses, institutions, pension funds. Most people just invest in those funds, and it's been a really tough time for us in Money Convos, trying to tell people, hey, invest this money for a rainy day emergency fund. Now emergencies have come with inflation and all that's going on, and yet people can't traditional financial institutions because that confidence we've been building up in the financial sector has been eroded. People's money and you're not able to pay it back. It's going to be tough to get people to want to invest again or deposit money again. And we are aware of that and we have stuff. So in light of what people are thinking about, what's the alternative? Where else can we put our monies? People are thinking, well, yes, I still have an income coming in. Some people are fortunate, they still have some room to invest money, or they have some excess cash, or they are thinking about their future expenses and they have money put aside, or they already have some money saved somewhere and they are wondering where is the best place to put it. And this topic that we are looking at is broken into two to address two things that people are considering. One, people are considering who start a business. Other people are also looking at who are doing business or so entrepreneurs understand what really does it entail to be an entrepreneur in Ghana. There's a lot of fact base about foreign countries, how to be an entrepreneur. We all know how Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, and all those people started their entrepreneurship journey, but there are not enough stories in Ghana. Fortunate, maybe and I have been fortunate to be part of it at various times. I did eventually just show some support in one way or the other. I've met a lot of people.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think Elikem is having challenges. So let's just move on. Let me hold the fort until he's able to get on board.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, I think that. Okay, so he has given a quite a broad intro, and then I think we just want to learn from your experiences and from all the things that you have been through. So just so that we set the ball rolling, we just want to understand why you chose to do what you're doing in terms of the products or the service that you're doing here.
All right. Thank you very much. Before I go into that, just want to say thank you to the Money Convos team for bringing me on to share my experiences on this platform. Also, I had an issue with my Twitter, so I couldn't join with my personal Twitter. So I decided to join with Bethnal Finance's Twitter. So I'm Edward Akani. If you are wondering who is behind the Bethnal Finance, that's me. So basically, I'm the co-founder and CEO for Bethnal Fintech, which is the company, and then the product is Bethnal Finance. So going back to your question, just want to be sure if you can all hear me so that I can proceed.
Oh yes, loud and clear. I can hear you.
All right, sure, good. Yeah. So going back to your question, I've always loved to create stuff or to build things like right from infancy, from primary, and then getting into senior high school, and then finally getting into uni. So I remember when I was in uni, I always wanted to build something. I always wanted to create something. And for me, it was really about doing something that people would use and find value for. So it wasn't just about, I mean, I wouldn't say it was like a money motivation per se, but it was really about building something that people would find useful. So when I got to uni, I had an idea at the time. I mean, people love to go out, go for events, try and find out what's happening in town, also order for food and stuff like that. So I had a friend called Bill, and we decided I would build an app that would allow people to like see what is happening in town, especially for students. Maybe like while you're in school, you want to maybe get out of campus and then visit a place or just hang out with your friends. Like, where can you go to have experiences like that? As well as, if you want food, where can you order for food? So it was kind of like a lifestyle app where you sort of get food and then also get like updates on events and places that you can go to. So we built an app, we launched the app, and then we got at the time we got by the time we were leaving school, we had about 2,000 plus people that were using the app. And so when I finished uni, I was like, this was really like exciting. At the time, I was quite young. I didn't know much about like the startup ecosystem, building a company and all of that. I was just driven by a passion to do something. So after school, we had a lot of interest. I mean, we had companies reach out to us to say that they wanted us to build their products for them. I'm not a developer or like someone that codes. I'm just like the idea person. So I always like to think about how I can solve problems. So what I usually did was to build a team that I work with. So after school, we got like a couple of contracts to build software for companies. We did projects for companies in the UK, in Singapore, in Nigeria, and then definitely in Ghana as well. So I just loved that entire experience of solving people's problems, building things that people would love to do. But I didn't mention that when I was in uni, I always loved finance as well. Like I started watching Bloomberg quite early, so and I also loved Business Insider. So I had like the Business Insider app on my phone when I was in my second or third year in university. So I was reading a lot about tech, about building businesses. I was reading about people like Jeff Bezos, reading about people like Mark Zuckerberg, reading about people like Larry Page who built Google. And I mean, not just the people, but also the products. And I felt like this is something that I wanted to do because I had seen and had read that these are things that were working in the Western world or in developed countries like the US. So I thought it would be just a great idea to also build something for our market or for the Ghanaian context. So um, when I finished uni, I mean, leaning on my experiences, I decided that I wanted to build something. At the time, I had already started something, which is the lifestyle app. We called it Beryl at the time. So the company was called Beryl at the time, and we built it, like I said, launched it, got contracts, and all of that stuff, and it did very well. I mean, for me personally, it was more of the experience that I gained from it. So, the series of events that happened or like the experience that I had in university sort of, like inspired me to do something like this. And, I wouldn't say that, I mean, it's been a bed of roses. While I've done all of these things, I've also been working because I mean, in our part of the world, it's not easy to like build a startup or to build a company. And imagine getting out of uni. At the time you have to do national service, and I was doing my ACCA as well. So I was working, like doing my national service, and then after national service, I was working and doing all of these things in addition to my business. So that has really shaped my way of thinking and what I want to do going forward, which is to build like something that people will find valuable. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Like, it's interesting how you brought up the whole point from the fact that business is not your first thing that you did, but it started from somewhere and you had to. So, looking at the several things you've been doing, I think it just dovetails into my next list that I would want to ask. But I think Elikem will come in with a question, and then I'll follow up with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. So I'm curious. Maybe I didn't catch this. So pardon me if I missed it. But Edward, tell us what is the Bethmail product? When people download the app, what are they expecting to see?
Okay. So let me pick it from this angle. So when I was in I think in our third year. I mean, by the way, I was in the business school with Elikem, so I know Elikem from uni. So in our third year in uni, I think maybe our second year rather, yeah, our second year, I started investing. At the time, my dad was like outside the country, so from time to time he used to send me money. And I love reading, so like I said, I had been reading about Business Insider, stocks, like tech companies, and all of that. So I always wanted to like build something and then also invest, because like I've been like a person that loved finance. So I can't remember exactly when, but in level 200 or so, I wanted to buy stocks. And so I started like searching, like going on Google to read about stocks in Ghana. And I wasn't really finding like a place where I could get information. For example, where I can go and then get data on the stocks. For example, stock prices, like PE ratio, earnings per share, like performance of these stocks and stuff like that. I wasn't getting a place, so I decided to go to like the brokerage firm. Maybe I wouldn't want to mention the brokerage firm on the spaces, but my experience with the brokerage firm was very terrible. I mean, when I got there, for me personally, like I always like to ask questions. I always wanted to learn, so I was asking the lady that was, I engaged there to sort of like help me, to advise me what to do with my money, where to invest, what kind of stocks to buy, that kind of thing. And the customer service or the the experience I had with her was not the best. So eventually I bought the stocks. Yeah, I did buy the stocks, but going back, I felt like I wanted more than that. I wanted to make an informed decision, but I didn't get it. And I was also on the lookout for a place where I could like get financial information. So this is like back in uni. This is way back in uni. So up till now, I still own some of the stocks that I had bought. Yeah, I still own some of the stocks that I had bought, and I've also sold some of them. So we finished uni, started working, and then let's say maybe about 3 years ago or so, um, I thought I had people come to me and say that, oh, they wanted to like invest. Where should they invest their money? Or people come and say they wanted to like do better with their finances, and so they come and ask me for like advice and stuff like that. And I was just thinking that I've had an experience before, like back in uni. I wanted to invest. I didn't get the information I want. And so I started like searching, looking out if there were products like that. I mean, these days you have like apps that can help you to do some of these things. But that time that I thought about BetMail, and there wasn't really like a place that you could go to get like financial information. And then also generally for Africans, like financial literacy is quite on the low. I had read a lot about financial literacy, and it would surprise you that the country with the highest financial literacy rate in Africa is Botswana, and that is at 51%. The least country with financial literacy rate is Somalia at 15%, and then Ghana stands at 23%. And these figures are well below countries from the European and then American continents, and they are averaging like between 65 and 75%. And so a lot of Africans don't even understand basic financial terms, where to invest their money, what kind of investments to go for. People who are making decent income and then don't even know where to invest their monies. People are making, little income and they're also looking at how they can also grow their wealth and stuff like that. So when I considered all these things, I thought it would be very interesting to have like a platform where you can go to get financial information. So, like I always do, I quickly built a team, shared the vision with them, and we started building the product. And then we got the product out. So when we launched Betnel Finance, it wasn't Betnel Finance, it was called African Observations. And I'm going to give like the meaning for that. So at the time, I had mentioned that I like reading and I love reading finance so much. So I came across this guy called Ray Dalio. He's a hedge fund manager. So he owns one of the largest hedge funds in the world called Bridgewater Associates. And they have like a publication called the Daily Observations, where they provide like financial market information to investors and then the general public. So I came across one of their publications, the Daily Observations, and it was very insightful for me. So I thought, okay, then if I'm going to be doing something that will provide Ghanaians or the dreamers to extend to across Africa financial information, and I would want to call it African Observations, looking back at the Daily Observations. So, to shorten it, we called it the AO app, African Observations app. So we put the app out. We got like we put it out around May, June 2021 or so. By the end of the year, that was like 6 months, we had close to 400 people using the app, and we gathered a lot of feedback from them because we engaged the users. And one of the key things we realized was that people wanted more than financial information. At the time, it was just financial information on the app. So people wanted more than financial information. People wanted to invest. People wanted to better manage their finances, not just investment, but things like tracking your income, making budgets. And apart from the fact that there's even investment, people wanted to also look at things like insurance, advice, and stuff like that. So over time, the idea for personal finance has evolved. And as I speak to you now, we are currently building like the version 2 of the app. What we've had for the past year and a half or almost 2 years has been the version 1, which basically gives you financial information. But we've had to also learn, especially from our users, and then also had to do like a number of research to understand what our people really need. So version 2 of the app is sort of like building up on what the version 1 is. So Personal Finance in the coming months is basically like a platform that helps Africans manage their personal finances and then also make better financial decisions from one place. And we are picking 4 things to do this. And these 4 things are: number 1, an AI powered financial expert. So how do you get financial advice from people? And it's not going to be just like an AI powered financial expert, but we're also giving you the option to engage experts, human experts. And I think we've spoken to quite a number of experts, and we are building the product. So the expert side of it is going to first come with the AI powered experts, where you engage like an AI for financial advice or for some kind of financial guidance. And then later on, we will add the feature where you can book an expert. And I believe we have 1 or 2 of the experts on the call or on the spaces tonight. So that is 1. And then number 2 is like curated financial literacy content. So how best are we able to create content across articles? We do a lot of webinars. How best are we able to put these webinars together? Short financial courses, basically to help people learn about money and then the different areas of personal finance. And then the third thing is financial tools. So we also want to give people the opportunity to manage their finances using some tools like a suite of calculators, retirement readiness calculators, mortgage calculators, financial literacy assessments, and things like that. And then finally, a marketplace for financial products. So you can get like investments, and we've already signed some partnerships with some leading financial services companies in the country. So once we launch version 2, you should be able to access some financial products like investment products, insurance, and then some loan products as well. So that when you think about personal finance, you think about everything personal finance, be it you wanting to learn or improve your financial literacy, or you wanting to manage your finances with tools and then assessments, or you wanting to assess financial products. So that is where we see Bednell Finance. You can call it a super app. You can also call it a personal finance assistant. Basically, like a platform that you can lean on if you want, anything about personal finance. So that's pretty much what we are building with Bednell Finance. Yeah.
And if I may, I just find it interesting how Edward ended. He said, think about it as a super app. And we are on Twitter where they've changed their name and Elon Musk is thinking about a super app. But yeah, it was refreshing to hear the agenda, this concept of super app. I remember in the early beginnings when we were talking about this, you had this vision out there and it was a good one. So anyway, big ups to it. Edema, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Elikem, and thank you, Edward, for the extensive understanding for what Bethel does. So I know you were mentioning a number of things at the time you started, you were doing your ATCA, you were in school, you were trying to develop an app and everything. How have you been able to juggle all these things with your main work and then your side hustle?
So, for me personally, I always say that it comes down to, first of all, the grace of God. Yeah, I'm a Christian and I believe that God has been very faithful and His grace and His mercies have been what has kept me. And definitely like support, some kind of like support system. So, finishing University of Ghana, I had 7 exemptions for ACCA. Like when you finish uni, depending on like your grades, you get a number of exemptions. So by the grace of God, I had 7 exemptions, and so I had to just write 7 papers for the ACCA to complete it here. So I think I finished uni 2015 May or June. So when I finished it in December, I wrote my first ACCA paper, and I passed. So I was quite like motivated to finish quickly because I had already had 7 exemptions. So by the next year, which was 2016, I started writing 2 or 3 papers at a sitting. And I tend to like how do you call it? I tend to focus when I have like a goal in my mind that this is what I want to do. So by the grace of God, I was able to finish all the papers within like a year and a half. And then when I was right about finishing, sometimes if you're coming from a home that is some kind of pressure, for example, my dad has always been the type that he's pushed me a lot. He's always wanted me to like study to the level that would be good in a sense. Yeah. So he mentioned to me one time that what do I think about doing like a master's? This was right about when I was finishing ACCA. And for me, when you are done with school, you see that you're tired, no school again, that kind of thing. And when I was finishing ACCA, I was like, this is it. I'm not going to do any school again. I'm tired. And I think right before my last paper, my dad came up with this idea of doing a master's, that kind of thing. And I didn't buy it. I didn't want to do it because ACCA was like very stressful. I remember one of my experiences when I was writing ACCA. I can't remember the exact paper, but I was studying and the night before the paper, and can you imagine that we used to write it, I think they still do. We used to write it at, how do you call it? The place, it's escaped me. Is it the British? No, it's not the British Council. Is it the British? I can't remember. Yeah, it's close to the National Theatre. I've forgotten the name of the place. So I got to the venue and I forgot my calculator. The calculator that I was going to use to write the exams, I forgot it at home. And looking at the time, my house to the place, there was no way that I could get a calculator. And everybody's coming to write the exams with their calculator. You can't take anybody's calculator. And so I failed that paper. I actually failed that paper. And the pass mark for ACCA was 50. And so when the results came, I had 48, 49 in that paper. And I was so stressed because I felt like if I had my calculator, I would have passed that paper. But that's just by the way. So thinking about all these experiences with the stress and everything, I didn't want to do school again. And I mean, my dad spoke to me and was like, "Oh, I should give this a try," that kind of thing. And then one of the things that I have tried to also do is to look at what I want to do in the long term, like my life's purpose or my vision for life, and look at how best I can take advantage of opportunities that come my way to do those things. So when my dad mentioned the MBA and I didn't want to do it, I still thought about it and I thought, okay, maybe I should just give it a try because if I want to do like a master's, I mean, if I want to build a business on my own, it would be good to also understand like on a broad level strategy. So I agreed to do the masters and then I majored in marketing. Yeah, so because I had like an accounting background from uni, I had ACCA, so I didn't want to go and do like an MBA and then major in accounting again. So I decided to do marketing because I thought going forward I wanted to build my own business. So doing marketing also helped me in terms of like how I think. So I'd like to say that I'm like an all-round person because of my background in terms of like education as well as my experiences. So doing marketing was very good. I mean, 2 years MBA wasn't easy. I was because I was working. I was doing the weekend, so I used to go for lectures Friday evening and then Saturday, and it was very stressful. But like I said in the beginning, I mean, God has always been very gracious and kind. So I was able to finish it, and my parents were also very supportive. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm tired, but my dad would be like, you don't have to quit. Because at the point, I almost said that I'm done with this thing, but, he was very, encouraging and, supportive. So I managed to finish the masters as well. And all that time, I was also doing like doing the business, at the time it was the first startup that I had mentioned, the lifestyle app. So that was what I was doing, and then also doing some kind of consulting for companies, like especially with tech. So I would say that number one, the grace of God. Number two has been maybe focus. Yeah, I think that it's important to have a certain kind of mindset. Like I said, if I put my mind to something, I try as much as possible to be focused and then push for it. So during the times that I was doing like ACCA and doing like the masters, because I was right about finishing ACCA and then I started masters. So during all that time, I wasn't spending so much time with friends. I mean, my life was school, home, and then church. And I mean, just making sure that I had to finish all these things. These days, I don't have that education stress or pressure, so I'm able to spend time with friends from time to time. But um, to answer your question, like I said, I would go back to God's grace being sufficient, and then also having a certain focus for life, and then having a right support system, yeah, along the way.
So having a certain focus and then also having the appropriate support around you. That's great. So that brings me to a question that I'm thinking, because you're talking about support systems and all that. Did you partner with anybody along the way? And if you did, how did you choose those people? Like how were you able to, like, were there certain things you looked out for? What are those things that you looked out for in order to be able to partner with those people, which I believe also add
I
up
think
to the kind of
okay.
support system you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a very good question because, like, personally, I believe in teamwork. I am the type that, there are people that always want to do it themselves. Like, I can do it all on my own. But growing up, I've always believed that it's not all in one person's head, and then you need people. I mean, to build whatever thing that you want to build. And I had already mentioned that I am not like a software developer. If you give me a laptop and ask me to build a software, I can't do anything. But I understand everything that goes through, like the entire process of building a product, the software, like the front end, back end, APIs, like product development, everything. I understand it, but I don't build it. And I've learned it from people, from engaging with people. I've not gone to school for this. I've not gone to school for my knowledge in software and product development. I've acquired this from reading and then from practically doing it. Yeah. So, the first example I'll give is like back in uni when I wanted to start the lifestyle app that I was talking about, Burial. So, I mean, at the time when I had the idea, I was looking for someone with a tech background that I could work with to build it. And I knew that I can't build it. I might have the idea, but I cannot build the software. So I decided to do like a sort of like a research, find people I could work with. So I began to ask friends, oh, do you know a software developer around? Like this was when I was in university, in my third year. Do you know like a developer who is in the computer science department that I can work with? And then someone mentioned the guy's name. Bill Inkum. So I mean, I'm very cool with that guy. He's one of the best developers that I've ever worked with. So someone mentioned his name, and what I decided to do was to do like a background check on him, because if you're going to build something, you need like to have a certain kind of understanding with who you're going to be working with. So I asked around, I went to his hall, asked a couple of people about him. Oh, like he's a cool guy, he's hardworking, he's like this, he's like that, and stuff like that. And then I took his number from someone. And then I called him, and I mean, he agreed to meet up with me. This was in university, like level 300. So he met up with me in the business school, and I told him my idea and everything. And he was laughing, and he was like, he's not met a lot of people like me, because like back then, I mean, you don't easily have people that would think like this and want to build something. So when I told him initially, he thought I was joking. He thought that I wasn't serious. He thought this is just one of those guys that he just wants to do something. So he said, oh, he'll think about it and give me a feedback. And I think, and I like to work with deadlines. I like to work with dates. So I was usually, when I have a conversation with someone or I talk with someone, I always ask you, so when should I expect to hear from you? Because I'm always going to come back or follow up. So he gave me about a week. After 1 week, I not heard from the guy. I called the guy. He didn't pick up. I went to look for him. I didn't find him. But I was very persistent, because like from my first encounter with him, I knew he was very knowledgeable and he had expertise. So I followed up on the guy. I mean, he thought I wasn't serious. So eventually, like, he sort of like agreed to us working together, and we started something. And I also had to prove myself to him, because he was also going to sort of like buy into my vision or buy into my idea and commit his time to it. And we had a very great relationship. He was like how do you call it? Maybe I should say the mind of the product or the business at the time. And I was maybe the heart or the soul of it. So we started building it. And I mean, in university, we didn't have money, but we had to also spend some money on some of the things. Because if you are building a software, you need to spend on like servers, you need to buy like a domain, you need to do a couple of things. So, in uni, you're not getting much money, you're not paid, you're depending on your parents. So whenever my mom gives me money, I go and put it in the business, and sometimes I could go hungry. We also had to market the product. So I mean, we did a lot of work. We printed flyers like all across university. We spent so much money into it, and he was a tech guy, so he was coming with his software skills. I was the idea person, and I had to also look for funding, or like look for money, because I'm the one that sort of like came up with the idea. So I had to like use I had saved some money back in uni, so I had to use my savings, and then my stipends that my parents were giving me back in uni, and we built something. And I'm actually when I look back, I'm proud of that experience, or I'm happy that I took those steps, because I learned from it. The truth is that the business Beryl at the time, I mean, we failed. We had to quit at a point. I quit because of the how do you call it? I quit when I started doing my ACC and my masters and all of those things, because it became a lot. So I mean, we couldn't continue it. Yeah, but when I look back, I've learned from the experience. I've learned from everything that we did, and it's made me like a better person. I've learned from my mistakes as well. But also working with Bill has given me like a certain kind of knowledge in terms of how to deal with people, how to understand people. And so I would say that you have to first of all understand that you cannot do it all on your own. You should identify like your weaknesses. In my case, I didn't code, I didn't build software, so I had to look for someone that had that skills, and then complement each other, and then also understand like working how to work with other people, because we are all different people. So also like understand how to work with people. And I say that my friendship with him has helped me a lot in going forward, like in all the things that I've done, in all the teams that I've built. I've been in a position where I've built like so many teams for different projects that I've been involved in. I've built a 40-man team for a project that was funded by the MasterCard Foundation and the World Bank across the country. So I've learned how to build teams from that experience that I had in university. And one of the things that I believe I would say probably is my strength is being able to sell my vision to people. And it's not easy for you to tell someone about your vision and then let the person believe or buy into your vision, because not everybody will take you serious. But it's something that you have to learn how to do. And I think it's one of the things that I've been able to do, to tell people something that they can believe in and say that this is something that can work and I'm ready to commit to it. So those are some of the things that are very critical. Being able to communicate or sell your vision to people that will believe in it and then work with you.
Great, great, great. It's good that you are mentioning all these aspects, talking even about the fact that even some of the things did not go as planned, or you had to even quit along the way. It's impressive that we hear these stories and then be inspired about them. So if you are just joining us, this is Money Convos. Today we are talking about entrepreneurship and investing in Ghanaian businesses. If you have any question, you can tweet at us, or you can send a DM, or you can also request the mic, and then we can allow you to ask your question. We are speaking to Edward Akani today. He's the co-founder and the CEO of Bethnal FinTech. So any questions at all, welcome as we discuss and prove further. Elikem, do you have any follow-up questions?
None at the moment.
All right. So I think Edward, you mentioned something about using your stipends and stuff like that. I think this dovetails into, I think this is a question that is on a lot of people's minds. Funding. How do you come about, or how do you raise the funds to? I believe that now you are not at the point where you are receiving stipends. So where are we supposed to raise the money from? How do you go about it? And then any lessons, any experiences, any unique things you would like to share with us?
Okay. So, this is a very broad topic. The topic of funding is quite broad. If you want to build a business, one of the things that you have to think about is funding. And depending on the kind of funding you want to go in for, there are different dynamics to it. There's equity, there's debt, and all of those kind of things. Yeah. But using Bethnal as an example, the funding that we have received has primarily been from, number one, bootstrapping. When I say bootstrapping, I mean like funding the business from my personal savings. Yeah. So number one, bootstrapping, and number two, we've also raised money from grants. We've been part of programs or accelerators that have earned us some grants money. So we've received money from grants, and then we are currently in talks with investors on raising funding for the business. That this time around more of like equity. Yeah. So for every business person, or maybe every entrepreneur, or whoever wants to do anything that requires you to sort of like raise funding, the first thing that I'll say is that people like to put their money into things that they have seen that the people that started it have put their money into it. So what I mean by that is that when I started Bethnal, I put my money into it because I believed in the idea. So when I got to the point where I had to like engage investors and then talk to investors about what we are building, it came up, and many times investors are likely to be just like be impressed if you have bootstrapped and if you've done it well. Yeah, because what it means is that you have been able to manage the little funds that you have to do something. And there's also like grants. These days there are a lot of programs where you can get like grants from. So we have been fortunate to be part of different programs that we have received some grants for. An example of that is we were part of a UNICEF program that we received some grants from that, as well as a program that was also funded by the World Bank that we received some grants for. So at the moment, it's been grants and then bootstrapping, and we are currently raising our pre-seed funding for Bethnal. And I would use this opportunity to even talk about the concept of angel investing. So a lot of times, like, maybe rather, let me say it from this angle. Angel investing is like for people that have, usually they say like high net worth individuals here, but people that are willing to invest in startups. And I'm happy to say this, I'm happy to share this because it's an alternative investment these days. Because if you look at like the general financial markets, it's not doing so well. The returns are not as promising as you may want it to be. But angel investing is another way that you can invest for the future. So many people, especially for high net worth individuals or for entrepreneurs who have done or built businesses that have succeeded, they usually invest in startups again, because you can invest in a startup and get 10x, sometimes 70x. What I mean by that is that at the very early stage, you are putting your money into something that is risky in a sense, yeah, and then also putting your money into something that is scalable. You know, technology is very much scalable. So if you put your money into it at a very early age, when that startup blows or when that startup is able to raise further funding, you get to benefit. So in the developed countries, it's very popular. Like, you have people putting in $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 into startups, and then when the startup does well, they are able to earn as high as like $1 million, $20 million. So it's something that Africans are now learning to do, especially in Nigeria. It's very popular that you have young people investing in startups. Because, like, if you look at the traditional investment opportunities like mutual funds, fixed income, and all of these kind of things, like even stocks, like the Ghana stock market is very illiquid. So if you're looking for alternative investments, where would you rather put your money? Angel investing is an option. It comes with some risk, but if you are in a place where you're able to like work with a team, an experienced team that is able to source good deals, then you know that you can get something out of it. Yeah.
Great. So that helps us to realize that for those of us who have been thinking about different options. Yes, Elikem.
Yeah, Adam, I like this point that we are talking about in terms of funding. And if you don't mind,
Hello, Elikem. It looks like your network is giving a bit of a challenge. Hello. Okay, Elikem, I think we will circle back to you when you get a better. Yeah, so Edward, you've just spoken about funding and everything. I think we'll be wrapping up soon, and but I wanted you to share some of your stories with regarding meeting with investors and even employees. Yes, okay, let's start with employees. How have you dealt with employees and then volunteers, if any?
Okay. So let me for employees, let me talk about maybe two things. Number one is, I don't know if I should say compensation or remuneration, but everybody wants something. Like, everybody thinks about their pockets. Everybody wants to go back home knowing that they are going to benefit from something. So, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, if I'm working, I expect to be paid at the end of the month, or if you're working, you expect to be remunerated or whatever. So, usually this is something that I learned from university. Like, when I started reading about tech and then started like reading about investment. And it's something that in our part of the world, we don't easily get, or we've not really sort of like come to appreciate it. But there's something called employee stock options, or ESOPs, where if you're starting like a company, the people that you start with get some shares in the company. And so for example, for Bethnal, the people that we are currently working with have got some shares in the company, and something that I'm very much happy and committed to, because even though I may be the one with the vision, like I said in the beginning, for me, it has always been like building something for people to find valuable and useful. So, one of the things that inspires me, or one of the things that makes me always want to wake up and then continue building what I'm doing, is because I know that one day, one day when Bethanol becomes big, or maybe like does very well, the people that have played a role are going to get something out of it in terms of shares, or the work that they've done. They would have like some ownership in the company, that if they decide to sell off one day, or they decide to keep, it would do well for them. And I picked this from like experiences that I've read about. For example, when you pick Facebook, when Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, the people he started with, they all had some shares in the company. When you pick Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, when they started, the people he started with had some shares in it. When you pick Amazon, like all the tech companies, most of the time they have like some kind of employee shares for the people that started in the beginning. So one of the things that I think, I don't know if I should say I push for, or I encourage young people to look at is stock options, because most of the time, if it does well, if it goes well, you are better off than working for 25 years or for 30 years. I'll give a typical example. I don't know if you might have come across this startup in Ghana called Mfarma. Mfarma is a health tech startup. I mean, one of the successful startups in the country. And they've raised so much money and they're doing very well. I came across an article that, what really inspired me. And I think at the beginning, the people that were involved had some shares in the company. So this is like an employee who was sharing his experience, and he was saying that when he wakes up every day, he is very much inspired to go to work. That is Mfarma, because he has a share in the company. And as the company has grown over time, his share has increased. I've forgotten exactly how much his share is worth now, but in the article he was saying something like, if he has to work for 25 years, I mean, being like in our part of the world in Ghana for 25 years with an average salary, he won't get what he has got from his shares in Mfarma now, and he's just like one of the many people that have been involved in the company. So employee stock options is really like a very cool thing that people should think about. And there are quite like a number of examples. Even in Nigeria, there are there are a lot of examples like that, because Nigeria is very vibrant when it comes to tech startups, and there are a lot of people that have made huge sums of money, like young Nigerians who have made like fortunes just from employee stock options. I'm sure you might have heard about Flutterwave, Andela, and all of these companies. They've exited, or they've done very well, and the people that started in the beginning, I mean, have made so much money, and some of them have now become angel investors because they don't have to literally like do like a 9 to 5. What they do now is just invest the money that they've had from the initial work that they did with the startup that they were working with. So for me, one of the things that I always tell the people that I work with is, let's build something that we all believe that we can own one day. We can look back and say that this is ours. This is something that we did for ourselves. And I believe very much in Africans building something that they can live off, or something that we can look back and then tell our grandchildren that this was something that we built and it would outlive us. That's one of the things that inspires me. And then secondly, team is crucial. Like I was saying in the beginning, you don't have it all in your head. One of the things that I always try to do is to listen to people, and I learn a lot from people. Like when I sit with you, it's not just about me wanting to have a conversation with you, but what can I learn from you? I've had the opportunity to, engage with Elikem a couple of times. I've actually worked with Elikem before. I don't know if you remember. We started like this game thing back in June. I don't know if Elikem remembers, but we used to organize this FIFA tournament kind of thing. So I've learned like a whole lot from Elikem. I've had the opportunity to meet with Mimi, that I can see she's on the call. I've learned so much from her as well. So when I meet anybody, it's always about learning. What can I learn from the person? Not just people that how do you call it? For also for investors. Just on Friday, I was with some investors, and then I was like, while I was with them and they were talking, like I was just picking up things that I believe would like help me. So when I learn these things, I'm also able to apply them in what like I'm doing. So I feel like people is like a crucial asset for good, for anything you want to do. You should have like regard for people. You should believe that without people you cannot achieve it. You cannot do much. So how best can you build relationships with these people? How best can you even make people believe in your vision? That is why I mentioned that one of the skills that you need as an entrepreneur is to be able to sell your vision. And by the grace of God, one of the things that I believe that I'm good at, to be able to sell my vision to people. Some people that I've been able to sell my vision to, at the moment, I'm not paying them because I don't have the money to see I'm going to pay them, but they have believed in what I have sold them, that they are willing to sacrifice time and build with me. And I appreciate it because not everybody will believe in me. So for people like that, I know that when the company does well, when opportunities come, these are the people that believed in me when there was nothing, or believed when the company was like in its very early stages. So people are crucial. And then number two, being open-minded about different opportunities like angel investing. Yeah.
Oh, great, 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 great. Elikem, I think your connection is better now. We can hear your question.
Yeah, I think it's better now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yes,
can.
loud and clear.
Wonderful. I was going to ask a question about the fundraising, but as Edward was talking, and we're going back to the things that we were doing. And it hadn't clicked to me for a minute how we did that FIFA thing, the video gaming thing, right? Back in
Yeah,
university.
Yeah.
My mind always goes back to that first class assignment. We went to, was it Brawl Ghana? And
yeah, 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 yeah,
your mother gave us her car and her driver to take us for that meeting and all
yeah.
that.
That's
You
true. That's
know,
true. That's true. That's true.
and
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to make a comment to about Edward and generally about people who want to get into entrepreneurship or who want any opportunity. Sometimes people start, by the time people need certain resources, it's way later for them to access those resources. Like whenever Edward would ask me, oh, can you hop on this seminar or something? Or when he was talking about selling the vision, Edward can sell the vision. Edward could sell the vision. I'll just, anytime Edward says, oh, Charlie, show up for something, I would just show up because I want to be a part of it. The thing is going somewhere. And it's not just his talk. This is somebody I've known since university. And it's not like we're best of friends. No. We just had a few very good encounters, a few very good experiences having an assignment. We did an assignment. We were all diligent. This is somebody I knew that, Charlie, if I'm doing work with this person, I can trust that he'll handle his part and I also handle my part, and then the work will come out great. Somebody that you can see over time, Charlie, he's doing this, he's doing that. He's following through on the things that he said he would do, and he's going somewhere. So you just want to be part of the train as it's moving. Just be part of the bandwagon so that when the success comes, you can also make sure that your name is part of the story. So to anyone who is listening and thinking about this, like, your reputation really matters. What people know you for. Not that, oh, they know you that you're hanging out. Like, I have friends that hang out with on some Fridays. Yeah, we'll hang out, we'll jam and all that. But if you bring me a business idea, I'll take it with a very huge tablespoon of salt. Like, I would ask myself, okay, this person may be somebody I have good times with, but can I really trust the person to handle business well? A friend was talking about, okay, let's invest in a business, a pub and all. I was excited. Then she mentioned that, oh no, actually she's going to travel soon. She should let somebody else manage it. I was like, no, thank you. I'm okay. If it was you, I would do it. If it's anybody else, I'm sorry. I'm not doing it, So just on, I just thought it would be good to insert this. Now to ask my question, just to double down on this issue about funding, because it's something that people are curious about. Bootstrapping grants. These grants, you mentioned some institutions, UNICEF and co. How did you go about finding these grants? Was it simple Google searches or people told you about it?
So, I mean, it's one, like, people. Number two, also, like, you seeing them online and applying for it. So, I mean, in the space that I work in, there's a lot of, like, funding in it in the form of grants for some of these kind of things. Yeah. So you apply, and I would also say that it's not everything that I've applied for that I've been accepted into it or I've got it. So you apply, some of them you get rejected, some of them you keep pushing. Yeah. So, for example, the first time that Ethnel got some grants, it was 2021, and it was, I can't remember. That was funded by World Bank. Yeah. So we applied for it and then we got into it. Yeah. So for that one, it was a friend that recommended that we apply. And this is someone that I had worked with. So back to relationships, like someone I had worked with, and he mentioned, oh, this is a good opportunity that I think you should apply. And then we applied. And then the UNICEF one too, with the UNICEF one, the company that was the implementing agency that was doing it, I had already applied to them for something, and we didn't get in. But I mean, I kept engaging them because like I thought that it was a very good opportunity. So when the UNICEF opportunity came, they reached out to me that I should apply for it. And for them to reach out to me, it means that they had been following our progress. They had been following what we are doing. So, and they can mention something about reputation. It's like very, very crucial. I remember I got an email from a company, and then they told me that they wanted to work with Bethnal and they had been tracking our progress. I was so amazed. Like, I mean, I thought I'm just doing something. Not that I thought I'm doing something, because I believe in what we are doing at Bethnal and we have seen progress, and I mean, we know we are going somewhere. But my point is that people are always watching. People are always watching. So you may never know when an opportunity will come. And the relationship we have with people also plays like a crucial role. I mentioned that on Friday I was with some investors having a conversation, and that conversation came up, or it came about because of a friend I have who works with these investors. And I mean, he just looked me in and we had like a very interesting conversation. So, people are an asset. There's a lot of resources, a lot of, how do you call opportunities online that you can, check. And I think that in all of these things, it's also very much important to know what you are building towards or where you are going, so that you don't just apply to anything, because there are certain things that I see that I don't apply for. Because if you're going to be applying for everything, you end up also wasting your time. So it's very much important to like have a certain kind of focus, know what you are building towards, know where you are going, so that as you are heading towards that, you know the kind of opportunity that will work for you. Because if you want to be applying, recently I saw something, an opportunity, and I was thinking about it because I've had a couple of opportunities I've been working on for some time now. And I was thinking that there's a lot of them I have to work on, but for this particular one, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't suit or it doesn't align with my goals or with the purpose that I have. I mean, trying to work towards. So, I'm not going to waste my time, because time is also very crucial. Like, you can't just be doing anything. So it's important to really understand, first of all, even like where you're going to, and then you know the different opportunities that you need to get to that. So these are the online, like I said, online, and then people, yeah. So I think that would be my comment on that. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And how about the investors and maybe even grant funders? What are some of the expectations they have of you? Quite often, I see that people wait until there's an opportunity and they're now scrambling to get their house in order. So, what tips can you give us to keep our houses in order in anticipation of these opportunities?
Okay. For everyone that is doing like a business, I mean, depending on the stage of your business, there are different documents or different things that you need to have in place. For a business, one of the typical things you need is like a pitch deck. Like a pitch deck is maybe about 12 to 15 slides of what the business is about, what you're building, and how much funding you want, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So a typical pitch deck should do like as a foundation. And then when it comes to fundraising, like wanting to raise money, the data room is like where you have all your documents in place and everything. It's the second thing. And so that's number two. And then number three is the team. People like to, I mean, investors, be it grants or equity or whatever, like to back people that know what they are doing. So for a startup, in as much as they say that, oh, they are investing in the idea, they're actually investing in the founders or the entrepreneurs, because you are as good as your idea. If, let's say, how do you call it? Like, you want to invest in a business, you want to understand and be sure that the person you are investing in is capable of implementing whatever idea that they say they have. So those are the three things that I think are very important. The pitch deck, the team is very, very crucial. The data room is important, yeah, but it comes in at a high level stage when you are trying to raise money on a certain level. But for the, how do you call it, for the grant side of things, pitch deck is crucial, the team is crucial, and one of the key things also is impact, because these days these kind of development partners and then grants always want to invest towards impact. So we have like the SDGs, I think 1 to 17 or so. For Bethnal Finance, we have some of the SDGs that we are looking at all the time. When you have conversations with development partners, They want to see that you are creating impact. So that is why we still do like a lot of webinars. And I mean, when we started the webinars, we thought, oh, we're just doing something, but we realized that these webinars add up to our impact. Sometimes we do a webinar not because we just want to do a webinar, but we want to also impact the people. So we track all the numbers, we track the progress we are making. And if you're talking to investors, you can say that, oh, you've trained X number of people in this area, you've had 15 webinars, 15 events, you've had X thousand people that have joined the webinar, and things like that. So those are the key things: impact, the team. I mean, documentation. You have the pitch deck, and then the data room. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Edward, for sharing those. I'm sure people are taking notes. Okay, Adam, back to you.
Thank you so much. I think we will just be wrapping up right now. If there's anyone else with a question, and if not, we will just take our last one briefly. So, Edward, any last words for the way forward, and what does the future hold?
All right. So I mean, I would not join the call and not talk about Betno Finance. I mean, that's what I'm doing. So I would like entreat you all to check the app out. I mean, it's on our current version. The version 1 is on the Play Store and then also on the App Store. But the version 2 is coming up in a few months. Like I mentioned, the version 2 is coming up with like exciting features like access to an AI expert. Going forward, we'll have human experts you can also engage. There are going to be some investment products. We have successfully closed some partnerships with some financial services companies in the insurance space and then the investment space. So we'll be having like some investment products on the platform as well. So I would entreat, anyone that's listening to get the app, and then you can join our community. If you want to join our community, you can always reach out to me. I'm not so active on Twitter, so when Elikem spoke to me, I was checking my Twitter today, and I realized that I'd forgotten my password. So I kept trying, and I couldn't log in because they said I've exceeded a number of limits or something like that. Yeah. So maybe Elikem, if you want my contact, you can get it from Elikem. To join our community. And one of the key things that I would say, add, probably the last thing is angel investing is another opportunity for young people. For the markets now, it's not so easy to get a certain kind of return, because if you compare what returns you're getting, inflation is like on a rise. So at the end of the day, like the real value you're getting is going to be swiped away by the inflation. And angel investing is one of the ways that you can actually make some wealth. You can build for the future. It's something that you can invest as a long term option, and it's something that I've been thinking about. I'm thinking about working with a couple of guys to put funds together to invest in some of these like amazing startups. It's something that's happening in Nigeria now, and just a few days ago, I was having a conversation with an angel investor who is helping us at Betnel to raise some funding. And I don't know if you guys know about Bamboo, the US stocks app. He's a Ghanaian, but he was one of the first investors that invested in Bamboo. And when Bamboo raised funding and they did like some great stuff, he's benefited from it. He also invested in a company called Approve. Approve is like it's an identity company, a tech identity company. And Approve recently got acquired by Smile Identity. And he's made so much money from that. He's a young man. I went to his house one time, and it's amazing, like the things that he's doing now. So angel investing is like a sure way to go. If you're interested in angel investing as well, you can reach out to me and we talk on that as well. I'm looking at creating like a collective where young people come together and then we invest in startups. That is the way that we can also give back to build entrepreneurship in our country, and then also benefit from that. Yeah. So those are the two things that I'll touch on. Thank you.
Yeah, Elikem, I see your hand raised. Elikem, can you please unmute? I see your hand raised. Well, since we are almost at the top of the hour, we just want to bring it to this moment. So, follow us here on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram. It's Money Convos GH. We have some great content. If you also you joined in late, you can listen to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search Money Convos GH. You'll find some of our previous discussions, and even today's recording will be there. And then you can listen in and then just benefit from all the good things and stuff that we have put up. Also follow our investment friends that's run by Mimi and Sarah. We have some great content over there that is made it finance your personal needs. You can follow them there. They have some great. So thank you all so much for joining us this and thank you so much, Edward, for all the things you have shared with us in time, sharing your experiences and all that you have learned over the period. And thank you, and we hope that we'll have another discussion with you soon. And thank you all for joining. I see Mimi in the audience. I see Douglas. Novan, thank you so much for coming, holding the fort in the beginning. Thank you. I see Chum Mike and Haywoods and Daniel. Thank you all for joining this evening, and have a good night. And
All right. Thank you for having me as well.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.